Hey, stop right there. Where'd you get that uniform?
I earned it, sir. United States Navy.
Keep your hands where I can see them.
They are.
The airport was loud that morning. Wheels of suitcases rolled across shiny floors, people talked on phones, kids laughed, screens blinked with flight numbers and gate changes. It smelled like coffee, fries, and jet fuel all mixed together. Nobody paid much attention to anyone else. Everyone was just trying to get where they were going. That's when Caleb Turner walked through the main terminal. Before we go any further, let me ask you something real quick. Where are you watching from today? Are you at home, at work, or maybe on your phone somewhere quiet? Drop your city or country in the comments. And if stories like this matter to you, please like, subscribe, hype this up, and share it with someone who needs to hear it. Your support really helps these stories reach more people. Caleb Turner stood out the moment people saw him. He was tall and strong, with calm eyes and a straight back. He wore full Navy SEAL dress blues. His uniform was clean and sharp. The dark blue coat fit him perfectly. Medals rested on his chest. His shoes shined like mirrors. Every step he took was steady and proud, not loud, not flashy, just solid. Caleb wasn't showing off. He wasn't trying to get attention. He was simply walking to catch his flight. Caleb had just finished active duty overseas, months away from home, long nights, hard missions, things most people would never understand. He was tired, but peaceful. Today was simple. Go through the airport, board the plane, go home, see his mom, sleep in his own bed. That was it. As he passed a coffee shop, a little boy tugged his mother's sleeve and pointed at Caleb. "Mom, is he a soldier?" the boy asked. The mother smiled. "Yes, sweetheart, a brave one." Caleb heard that and gave a small nod. That was all. But not everyone smiled. Near the security desk stood Officer Ryan Holt, a white airport police officer. He leaned against a counter, arms crossed, eyes scanning the crowd. He wasn't busy, no emergency, no call on the radio, just watching people pass. Then he saw Caleb. Officer Holt's eyes narrowed. He stared at the uniform, then at Caleb's face, then back at the uniform. His jaw tightened. Something about the sight bothered him, not the uniform itself, but who was wearing it. Holt pushed himself off the counter. He didn't smile, he didn't wave, he didn't ask a friendly question. He walked straight toward Caleb with long, fast steps. Caleb noticed him right away. Years of training made Caleb aware of everything around him. He slowed his pace and stopped near a large window. Sunlight poured in behind him. He turned calmly to face the officer. Officer Holt stopped just a few feet away. "Hey, you, stop right there." Caleb blinked once. "I've stopped," he said calmly. Holt looked him up and down like he was searching for something wrong. "Where did you get that uniform?" asked Holt. Caleb stayed relaxed. "I earned it," he replied. Holt scoffed. "Yeah? Says who?" Caleb didn't raise his voice. "The United States Navy." A few travelers slowed down. Some pretended not to watch. Others stared openly. Phones came out. Whispers started. Officer Holt stepped closer. Too close. "I'm going to need to see some ID, and don't make this difficult." Caleb felt the shift in the air. This wasn't routine. This wasn't respect. This was something else. "Officer," Caleb said evenly, "I'm active duty military. I'm not doing anything wrong. I'm just heading to my gate." Holt's face hardened. "Don't get smart with me," he snapped. "People pretend to be things they're not all the time." Caleb glanced around. Cameras, witnesses, kids, families. Still calm, he said, "I'll gladly show my ID. There's no need for hostility." But Holt was already escalating. He placed a hand near his radio and leaned in. "Keep your hands where I can see them," Holt said loudly. That's when the terminal went quiet in a strange way, like everyone felt something bad coming. Caleb stood still with his hands raised, not high, just enough to show he wasn't a threat. His breathing stayed slow and steady. Inside, his mind was clear. Years of training had taught Caleb one thing above all else: stay calm even when others are not. Officer Ryan Holt didn't relax. Instead, he grew louder. "I said, don't move," Holt barked, even though Caleb wasn't moving at all. His voice echoed through the terminal. Heads turned. Conversation stopped. A woman near the window pulled her child closer. A man across the hall lifted his phone a little higher to record. Caleb spoke carefully. "Officer, my hands are visible. I'm not resisting." Holt ignored that. "Why are you really here? You're traveling alone or meeting someone?" Caleb frowned slightly. "I'm boarding a flight, same as everyone else." Holt shook his head slowly like he didn't believe a word. "Funny, we've had reports of stolen valor before, people wearing uniforms they don't deserve." That word hung in the air. Don't deserve. Caleb felt a tight pull in his chest, but he didn't show it. "With respect," he said, "I earned this uniform. I've worn it in places you'll never see." Holt stepped even closer, close enough that Caleb could smell coffee on his breath. "You watch your tone," Holt snapped. "You're not special here." That was when a middle-aged man nearby spoke up. "Officer," the man said, "he hasn't done anything wrong." Holt turned his head sharply. "Sir, mind your business." The man backed off, but others didn't look away. Too many eyes now, too many phones. Holt noticed that and grew more tense. "ID," Holt said again, louder, "now." Caleb slowly reached into his coat, moving just like he was trained to do. "I'm grabbing my military ID," he explained calmly. Holt's hand went to his belt. "Slow," he warned. Caleb pulled out the ID and held it between two fingers. Holt snatched it and looked down. At first, his face stayed hard. Then his eyes paused. The name, the rank, the insignia. Holt's jaw tightened. He flipped the card over, checked it again. Still, something in him refused to let go. "This could be fake," Holt muttered. A woman behind them gasped. "Oh, come on," she said quietly, shaking her head. Caleb's voice stayed even. "You can call it in, verify it." Holt hesitated. Calling it in meant witnesses would hear the truth. It meant this moment might slip out of his control. Instead, Holt handed the ID back roughly. "Turn around," he ordered. Caleb blinked. "Why?" "For a search, now." Caleb's eyes hardened just a little, not angry, just firm. "Officer," Caleb said, "you have no reason to detain or search me." That sentence lit a fire. Holt raised his voice. "Are you refusing a lawful order?" People gasped. Phones rose higher. Someone whispered, "Did he really say that?" Caleb's jaw tightened. "Didn't fit what?" she asked. Holt didn't answer. Morales turned to Caleb. "Sir, are you active duty military?" "Yes, ma'am," Caleb replied. "Name and unit." "Petty Officer First Class, Caleb Turner, Naval Special Warfare," he said clearly. Morales nodded once. She already knew what that meant. "Thank you for your service," she said. Those words felt like a small shield snapping into place around Caleb. Morales turned to Holt. "You had no probable cause," she said firmly. "No report, no threat, no behavior." Holt's face flushed red. "I was being cautious," he said. Morales shook her head. "You were being reckless." She stepped aside and addressed the crowd. "Everyone, thank you for your patience. This situation is under control." But she knew it wasn't over yet. Morales looked back at Caleb. "Sir, would you like to file a complaint?" she asked quietly. Caleb didn't answer right away. He looked around, at the people watching, at the kids, at the phones still recording. "Yes," he said calmly, "I would." Holt's eyes widened. Morales nodded. Understood. She turned to Holt. "Officer Holt, hand me your badge." "What?" Holt snapped. "Now," she said. Holt hesitated, then slowly unclipped his badge and placed it in her hand. A woman in the crowd gasped. "Oh, wow," someone whispered. Morales spoke clearly so everyone could hear. "You are being removed from duty pending investigation." Holt tried to protest. "This is blown out of proportion." "Enough," Morales said sharply. "You escalated without cause and put your hands on a citizen, a service member." Holt said nothing after that. Morales turned to Caleb. "Sir, I will personally escort you to your gate." Caleb nodded. "Thank you." As they walked, the crowd parted. People stepped aside quietly. Some nodded at Caleb. One older man saluted him. A woman whispered, "I'm sorry that happened to you." Caleb didn't smile, but he felt seen. Behind them, Holt stood alone. No badge, no voice, just the weight of his own actions pressing down on him. As Caleb reached his gate, Morales stopped. "You didn't have to stay that calm," she said softly. "Most people wouldn't have." Caleb looked at his uniform. "This uniform taught me discipline and patience." Morales nodded. "Justice caught up today." Caleb stepped toward the gate. Boarding had just begun. But justice wasn't done yet. Not completely. Caleb Turner sat near the window at his gate, his carry-on bag at his feet. Outside, a plane slowly rolled across the runway. Normally, this moment would calm him. Today, his mind stayed alert. Sergeant Morales stood a few steps away, speaking quietly into her radio. Yes, internal affairs immediately. Caleb heard that and understood what it meant. This wasn't being brushed aside. This was real. A few passengers nearby kept looking over at him, not with fear, with respect. One man leaned over and said softly, "Thank you for handling that the right way." Caleb nodded. "Just did what I was trained to do." Morales finished her call and walked back. They're reviewing Holt's record. This isn't his first complaint. Caleb looked up. "It usually isn't." Morales sighed. 3 prior incidents, similar pattern. Escalation, bias. That word sat heavy. A young airport employee stepped over, nervous but determined. "Sergeant," she said, "2 witnesses want to speak. They said they've seen Officer Holt do this before." Morales straightened. "Send them in." An older black man approached first. His hands shook a little. "He stopped my son last year," the man said, "for no reason. Said he matched a description." Then a young woman spoke. "He questioned me for 20 minutes once, said my bag looked wrong." Each story stacked on the next. Caleb listened quietly. He wasn't angry. He was focused. This wasn't just about him anymore. Morales took notes. "Thank you," she said. "This matters." Across the terminal, Officer Holt sat alone in a chair near the wall. Another officer stood beside him, silent. Holt stared at the floor. Then something unexpected happened. A news reporter walked in with a cameraman. They had been tipped off. The camera zoomed in on Caleb's uniform, on the medals, on his calm face. The reporter spoke softly. "Sir, can you tell us what happened?" Caleb thought for a moment. "I was walking to my flight. That's it. No drama, no yelling, just truth." The reporter nodded. "And how did it make you feel?" Caleb looked straight into the camera. "I felt disappointed," he said. "Not angry, disappointed." Those words hit harder than shouting ever could. Morales watched the interview closely. She knew this would spread fast. Moments later, a senior airport official arrived, followed by internal affairs. They spoke with Morales, then with witnesses, then with Caleb. Finally, they turned to Holt. Morales didn't hear everything they said, but she saw Holt's shoulders slump. His radio was taken. His duty belt came off. Then Morales got the message she had been waiting for. She walked back to Caleb. "Officer Holt has been suspended without pay," she said. "Formal charges pending." Caleb closed his eyes for a second, not in victory, in relief. "That's accountability," she said. "And it happened because you stayed calm and stood your ground." Boarding was almost complete. Caleb stood and adjusted his coat. As he walked down the jet bridge, people clapped. Not loud, not wild, just steady applause. Justice doesn't always shout. Sometimes it walks quietly beside you. Caleb Turner took his seat by the window as the plane filled up. He placed his bag under the seat and buckled in. Inside, the cabin buzzed with low voices and soft movement. Then something unexpected happened. The pilot's voice came over the speaker. "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special guest on board today. Petty Officer First Class Caleb Turner, United States Navy." Heads turned. A pause followed. "We want to thank him for his service and for showing what strength and professionalism truly look like." The cabin erupted in applause. Caleb felt his throat tighten. He nodded once, not standing, not waving, just accepting the moment. As the plane lifted into the sky, the airport shrank below. Caleb looked out the window and let out a slow breath. The tension he'd been holding all day finally eased. Back at the terminal, the story spread fast. Video clips hit the news, then social media. Millions saw what happened, not because of shouting or violence, but because of truth. By the next morning, the airport released a statement. They apologized to Caleb Turner. They confirmed Officer Ryan Holt's termination. They announced new training and policy reviews. But the real impact went deeper. People talked. Families talked. Kids asked questions. Why did that officer stop him? Why was that wrong? What does fairness look like? Caleb landed a few hours later in his hometown. His mother waited at the gate. When she saw him, her eyes filled with tears. She hugged him tight. "I saw the video," she whispered. "I'm proud of you." Caleb hugged her back. "I just stayed calm," he said. Weeks later, Caleb received a letter. It wasn't long. It said, "Thank you." It said, "Your actions mattered." It said, "Change doesn't always come from force. Sometimes it comes from dignity." Caleb folded the letter and placed it beside his medals. He didn't see himself as a hero. He saw himself as a man who refused to be treated as less. And in doing so, he reminded everyone watching, respect is not given by fear. Justice does not need anger. And truth, when it stands still, is impossible to ignore.